Yeah.
Oh, you missed it.
I can see this way, but then to read it. This is, yeah, just for a few days. Otherwise, I can't see in front of me. So I guess we have counter proposals and then ask about some things with you all. You want to have hand this up?
For change.
I didn't say anything.
Are the owls on?
Yes. They're live. Hey. Thank you.
I'll tell you, it's kind of hard to come here today because we've had a lot going on with classified, for the last few days with layoffs and cuts and things, and a lot of people are having a hard time as we are, because these are our coworkers and our friends, and we're still trying to work through that. And I know that there'll still be some more, changes within those as the year goes on, but it's hard after all the cuts last year now to face this anymore. It's been really tough. So, we're having a hard time. I'm having a hard time. So.
I understand.
So I guess we'll get right into this. Recognition, we went back to the original language for the return. And we still would like to have reconsideration of the subsection on personal freedom under 1.7.
Mary, before you go, can you just, because you got lots of new colors here, and I just.
No, okay, on the front page, there's a, what new colors mean. Okay. So basically it's yellow or still proposals we'd like to consider. Brown means there's been a change, is that correct? Usually for
I would call it orange, but yes.
Orange. Yeah. In these eyes. the other orange, where's orange?
It was a shade. I was following.
I think these are working very well then. Blue wasn't your language.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Agreed on language.
Agreed on. So I try to explain as I go along what it was, because it's a lot to digest at once. So in Article 1, it was bringing back for your reconsideration is the personal freedom section. 2, I think there were no changes. Article 3, we're reverting back to the original language. If there's any questions or anything, just yell and I'll stop. Article 4, the blue that we've agreed to, and we'd like to reconsider the translation and interpretation of access, and there's some new language in there that we'd like you to look at.
So since based on that piece, can you share a little bit more the rationale behind that piece, the translation? Yes.
I'll bring up my own thing. We took out the problem that you had when we were talking was the governance of the union. So that would only be things that had to do with school situations that we would probably run most of it by you anyway, but it was not. It seemed like the problem you had was governance of the union. So communication related to collective bargaining, grievances, or dispute investigations.
So I guess what I'm trying to understand, if we needed this, we would certainly be providing it. So
I think it's one of those things that people, sometimes we have things in there that people don't know. It's just something for you to consider. You don't have to, you can come back.
I'm curious if OSCA has access to translation services as well, the state level.
At the state level, currently we have some through the website that will convert messages, but we don't actually have translators at the moment. We're in the process of hiring a bunch of people. The ones that left were the bilinguals. So we don't have that access on staff. Now, whether we could get it through another process is something that's being looked into. So I don't know the answer on that one just yet.
And if we do, the local chapters aren't the ones that would have immediate access. It would be probably stuff coming out of the state originally. So it's sort of this kind of dead zone right now where we don't have access to anything. On the next page, we're re-proposing the subsection. New employees will attend the union meeting as outlined above before they can start their job. We seem to be running in, just for a little context, some problems with them starting, and sometimes there's questions on insurance, there's questions on when is my actual start date. We would just like to help you all too, to make sure that they have all the information they need. And sometimes it gets fast and furious, especially when we start back to school, but I don't see, we should be able to meet with them before they start work.
Well, sometimes we don't always get to have them at the orientation either, because we're trying to get them out to schools, which is why we specifically,
Right.
again, didn't want some of that language in. You have the opportunity to meet with them, but we're trying to expedite getting them to their roles.
Well,
We
I've
worked
had
out
some
other arrangements.
problems recently with, there was that where they did their stuff online, their safety stuff, safe schools, all that stuff. And then they started school, so they assumed, okay, this month I started safe schools. Now I'm not starting like March 2nd, I actually show up at the job, and then I expect that my insurance is gonna start. Well, it doesn't start until May instead of April, but there's confusion in that. So it's just like that would help alleviate some of that. So that's one of the ways we're looking at it. It's just, okay. Another one, 4.8.3, we're reopening with some new language where you were concerned, where it says as long as their attendance won't interfere with student contact time. We added to that proposal. And then we get to under 4.10. We removed the chapter meetings and staff meetings part of this, but we would still like to consider the welcome back round and training day language. With all that there is and going on and making sure people understand everything, we just see it's super important for us to find a way during that time to be able to meet with these employees, or with our people. Article 5 reclass, we're reverting back to original language, keeping the agreed format and adjustments. Okay, Article 6. We agreed with the change in language that you all proposed. And then 6.5, we're going to get some information, speaking with Kim, on the callback. I didn't know if that happened, so we don't have anything at this time to bring back on that. Flex time, we're going to agree with the language that you brought to us on flex. And then the next one is access to IEP and other. Okay. There was a change in the number of business days. So we agreed with the part that you had, and then we had additional said this notifications are happening within 3 business days of the plan adjustments being formalized. And we removed language conditions regarding uninterrupted time and workday hours.
Can you say that again? I just couldn't hear you. Did you just read the orange at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Because some of the stuff, if you compare it to what we gave you last time, you'll get to see, it just seemed like an awful lot to put in here. So anything in the orange, you can revert back to.
Okay.
You gave last time.
Thanks, my ears couldn't catch it.
No, it's probably me. Yeah, kind of. Article 7 is seniority and layoffs. No changes to Article 7 or OSA proposals yet pending some discussions. That's where you and I spoke, and we have not, until we get through the few days of people are notified and stuff. We're going to talk about that section to see what comes out from this. So next time we'll have something on that.
Okay,
I really
so your
want to
current
discuss
proposal
it.
is still on the table?
That's on the table for now, yes, absolutely. Article 8. Okay. I am just, so this is the personnel records and resource management, did we change? Contract agreed upon, reverted to original format for clarity.
Do you want me
Yeah, that would help, please.
Okay, so for Article 8, we had in our initial proposal, we had quite a few formatting changes. And since we agreed to focus more on formatting during contract cleanup, I reverted those changes because they were not very clear on what language we were proposing versus formatting. So that hasn't been reverted except for 8.2. I wanted to highlight the language proposals that the union is bringing to the table there. Everything else in the original Article 8 remains unchanged, except for the title and the sections we were proposing at the end of Article 8.
And then there was still the section under job descriptions. We were,
Because you highlight the proposal, we can
yeah, we had talked about districts to review and update all 1/3 of all the job descriptions each year. So we were putting that down in here that we talked about at the end of last time. Instead of having it be like over 4 years or whatever, if you get a third done each year, then maybe we can keep up with it. And it won't become an issue any longer. And then by June 30th, that would mean all classified job description would be reviewed and updated. That's what we spoke about actually put into writing. And then we were bringing back the new hire onboarding section. We're proposing. Okay, Article 9. We were taking out normally, and 9.3.2, we were reopening pay upon promotion. Upon receiving a promotion in a different job family, an employee will be placed on the appropriate range of the position and on their current staff.
Mary, I'm so sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you speak?
That's as loud as I can talk right now.
Okay, no problem.
I'll try to scream.
No, do that.
I will yell. Just watch it.
Mary, we do have actually a microphone. When we have large meetings in here, if you want to, it's actually right behind Allison. Yeah. That'd be helpful. Yeah.
I can wear it on my neck, that's okay. The one that's lit up?
Yes, and it should turn blue. And then we speak. Okay.
Oh, no. Okay.
There we go.
Careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Watch out. So Article 10, I know there's some things in here we were waiting for proposals back. And we were going to work on a hearing on the third, if you had a third year proposal. And we're hoping to hear some movement on insurance. So do you want to go through some of the articles that we have changed or we propose, or what would you like me to do? Or accepted what you had, and you can kind of see it in yourself. You see it in yourself, see yourself, what there is. And then Brown will tell you some of the things that we had asked that we've already removed from our proposal. Remove the language regarding educational retainment incentive. That was under, right above 10.4. So under 10.5, we still had some we would like there. And in the involved, we still have the language down here, and we also need to look at that, under some of the other things as well before we feel that it's comfortable. But this is when employee is placed at a lower salary range, not due to disciplinary action, that we place when a new range for the job title offered and at the step closest to their current rate of pay. Regular step advancement follows Article 10.2. And retired classified employees, no changes, removing text to reduce paper. I like that. Same tree. Subsection for all years following longevity, employees will receive a 2% annual pay increase in addition to COLA. That was a drop from our 4% request, original request. So this is a update on that proposal. And then when we talked about that other position for the Unified Sports Coach, we would like to be added to subsection C of the athletic and extra duty pay schedule. We just wanted clarification in there that is where it was being considered to be placed.
Oh, on section C?
Yes.
I will have to look at where we have it.
Okay, I just wanted clarification in there that would be our ask.
Are you okay with the MOA if that's the confirmation?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. And then we'll get it in. And we moved some other additions that you can see when you compare the job, the thing from last time and then this time's. Can you hear me, Marcy?
I didn't hear you, a little bit better.
Okay, and that's all you're gonna get, that's me, I'm not loud. Even with a microphone, I'm not loud.
We can tighten it so it's closer. It's supposed to sit, like New York Halter bone.
It's okay, I'll just yell. Okay. No changes to 10.11 to 10.16. Another one we're removing for paper, so. And then we added the sections with the agreement on the severance benefits. We still, did we? Well, the bus riders, and then the first 3 weeks, it's crossed out there. Does that mean it's?
Yes, it's our counter proposal.
Okay. Okay. Crossed it out that way. Okay, makes sense. So we agreed to the first part, but we don't agree to that section on the first 3 weeks. We still think they should be paid at the overtime rate from the first day. And then we moved the language regarding PLO to Article 14.7. Insurance, we were waiting to see if there was any additional proposal from you all.
Can I ask for clarification on that? Because what we presented was 2 options. And I don't want to assume the wrong thing. We wanted to hear from the group, the interest, if it was more in increasing the insurance versus the end of year stipend piece, which is why we didn't hear.
Yes, we would rather have increased insurance than the end of year stipend piece.
Okay.
And we know that there is money in our account there, and we are going to making the best use of it. As you all know we will. It's still a new thing that we're trying to deal with, and numbers seem to be different than what we expected it to become at the end of the year, so it will be a good for employees. Okay, proposal. Under the holidays, if there's an employee, there's a subsection here. If an employee is directed or called back to work on a holiday, reference section 6.5 when we get section 6.5. So, I think there was some misunderstandings this year on the holiday and they didn't get. So we just wanted to verify that would be the same. And we removed requests for holidays, except we would still like it to be considered for 60s to have Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, not have to make that distinction, not one or the other. And that's all that's left in that section. And for vacation, we're reverting back to the original, text that was in the contract. For what the hours, years of service, et cetera. Article 14. Waiting. The district closure. I'm gonna revert back to you all. This is still more that would be coming from facilities with the discussion, I believe.
We thought you all, based on conversation, were coming back with something, because we were fine with the original language.
I think
We had different in our notes.
I think our understanding leaving was that in our initial proposal, we had said we wanted to have a conversation, see if we could arrive at some neutral language. And I think we were still hoping that that would occur. And our understanding at the last time when we brought up general callback and this was that you wanted to check in with Kim and her team to see if they had any thoughts before we really dove into that. And maybe we misunderstood, but that's what we walked away with.
So yes, on the general callback, for us, the current language, we asked what your concerns were. And I think part of the concerns are actually less than a 5-day week schedule, primarily of that's facilities. For example, the delayed start are individuals who are on like 410s, start much earlier, and so that seems to be a bit of an issue because we're calling later and they've already started. One way around that is we just stop that practice. I did get a strong sense that was popular, so.
But I don't think that actually addressed all of what it is. We also have bakers and cooks and
Right,
stuff.
right.
So that doesn't and Mary,
Right,
okay,
okay.
didn't necessarily address. We also, there was some, just the communication, the feeling when the message goes out to certified, come 2 hours late and classified, it's come as soon as you can. And so that makes you feel diminished and not, your safety isn't quite as important as the certified and the students. There's, I think my entire career here, and yours as well, has been that this has been the hard, messy area that just doesn't quite fit right. And it generally leaves people feeling, classified staff feeling less. Every time we have to have a district closure, everything that goes around it, classified kind of feel minimized at the end of it.
So I think, and no, we heard that part, and I totally understand that. And I know one of the pieces is looking at our communication. That's outside of the contract and how it's communicated. The when, there's logistical pieces there. But I think to make it feel better from a contractual standpoint, we all would want to actually see language from you as far as what specifically that looks like.
Okay.
Just because I'm not sure, from our standpoint, we're like, I know it's not great. We're doing the best we can. And so if there's something different, we'd like to hear that from you.
We do have some language in, I believe, this one. So,
Okay.
absolutely.
The other one, the callback, yes, I think we needed to get a few pieces on
Right.
that, but we thought this was a little bit different.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just misunderstanding it. We can bring you what we've worked on.
No, I'm glad we
can talk.
clarified that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 14.7, the sick leave with pay, we've made change, adjustment in that. It'll just be adding 1 day per classification, so. Go down there. I think there was still 14.7.5, that would be work days, not just consecutive days. Consecutive work days. There's been some problem about what terminal separation means, that it doesn't mean people have passed on. So we were trying to take away terminal and maybe just put a separation leave, use that word instead of the word terminal. We're trying to find another word in the thesaurus that would be a better word than terminal. Because that's not what it means when we're talking about it. So that's what that is. And then we still have the subsection about the doctor's verification of illness that the district will pay costs incurred by employees obtaining this. That's not paid by the medical insurance.
Can I just ask a clarification on this? I know part of the concern is someone's been out a period of time, they come back, the district says, you have your doctor's note. And that's for a couple of reasons, either following our policy and or just to ensure that there's not any like accommodations or restrictions that we need to follow through. If they're going back to the doctor requires an additional cost, I understand, but I also wouldn't want to set us up where we're paying more costs there because an individual, when they go to the doctor the first time, doesn't ask that. So to me, there's a little bit of a communication, both from the district standpoint, but also from the association then, to just get individuals to recognize if you go to the doctor, you might want to be prepared for your employer to come back with the doctor's note. So it's done while you're in that initial appointment, because then there shouldn't be that additional cost.
So then maybe
You shouldn't call out.
a change of language somewhere.
Well, I'm even thinking it's more than just, again, here, right?
Right,
Because
I
not
know.
everyone's gonna go, oh, I'm going to the doctor, let me check my contract.
See, that meeting at the rally, exactly, would be a good time to talk about things like that. Because there are things like that that we run into all year that people really need to understand and really harp on, you know, what this is, what sick leave is, what everything is. We run into problems with employees later, so it'd be nice to, that's why that proposal is strong for us. Just saying, but, okay.
Touche, Mary.
Like- Doesn't happen very often, but. Under Fort, we had some other, we removed other language additions. I don't have them exactly down in front of me, but. I'm sure Allison would know.
It was removing the paid family leave language.
Okay, that we had added to the proposal there, and agreeing on their PL language. Holy, sick leave cash out, it's on page 26.
Yeah, so the sick leave cash out, it sounded like the last time we talked, you guys were concerned about it, you know, not being something that can access sooner. And we want to flush that out a little before we came back with a different proposal on that. Is that something that, I mean, the way it's currently proposed, it would take most people like 4 years. And I think you're concerned that they'll not want to wait that long. If we had something that started a little sooner or revamped this in a way that it would happen sooner, would that be more an interest possibly to the district?
Well, our interest is getting people to come to work.
That's what I mean, for that purpose, I think, yeah.
And it's immediate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm having conversations with people in December and January that have already used all their sick leave.
Sure.
And personal leave.
Right.
It's a long rest of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand your intent was to get people to build theirs, which I like to tell people, it really should be seen as an insurance
Mhm.
yourself. So you're not just using it because, you know, I'm just a little extra tired today, or it's really nice out and I'd much rather do something different.
Right.
But this, yes, does, and I'm also would want to be careful that it doesn't encourage just to cash out and not have that insurance, what I call kind of an insurance bank. Because we don't know what's gonna happen, and someone could get in a terrible car accident, right? And so when you have that, then you don't have to worry about not only trying to get well, but then the stress of financial impact, so.
Yeah, because the way it's proposed now, I mean, it sounds like to me shortening the front might be a little bit more of a thing for you guys, but the way it's proposed now, because cash out to a 403B, as I understand the law is not being an attorney, of course, but if you have a 401K or 403B and you have serious health conditions, you can tap those to pay that without taking a huge hit from, you know, just if you try to get into it for any other reason. So it would still be available in spirit the same way you're talking about, right? They'd still be able to access it. If they really did go run through all their leaves, they would still have the ability to tap it. So I think that piece is addressed here. It sounds like to me the piece we need to work on is making it a little more desirable versus, you know, somebody waiting 4 years to see any benefit out of it. So we will take another stab at that and bring it back to you. Thank you for the clarification.
14.8 was reverted back to the original language for June duty. And on the bottom of the next page, change remove language regarding family illness leave, volunteer public safety duty, and political leave. We'll remove those. Article 15 was the sick leave bank, had already accepted your part for the retirement, being able to put the hours in, but we would still like to re-up, asking for there to be 200 hours
that people can donate instead of 100. That's been, I know there's only been very few people who have even donated 100, but they've asked about 200, so I don't see why, if you've accepted the other one, why that one is such a far reach. So we just like to reopen for that one.
I guess we didn't realize you were having that, and I'd be curious if in that case, and again, since we just only had a couple.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it was an issue.
I know, but it seems like it's almost an issue, non-issue, but that maybe if it's in there and people want to. Article 16, we had no changes before and whatever. Article 17, we just asked, will they meet every 2 months for the meeting, since it seems like we are going to have things to work on. So we'd like that. Uniforms, I know we had asked and you hadn't shown interest, but we were asking if this subsection 18.5, we could try this in the third year of the contract. It was a 3-year contract. And then that way, if it didn't work the following year, when you go back into bargaining and negotiations, you could say, you know, well, we tried this wasn't a success, this is why. But we think it would be a good thing. And just one thing with uniforms is what it says. I did talk to some people that weren't offered or given uniforms this year, shirts especially, and that really needed them. So I just hope we can get that process clarified a little bit.
Did they ask if they needed them? They did, and they were told no?
Not told no. It's been 2 years, I think, personally for me, since I've gotten anything new. I put in the orders, they get the orders, and they never come.
Oh.
So.
Sort of crickets. So. I got a proposal on that. Article 19 was probationary. We'll accept what you have in there, but you already have accepted them. Article 20, I believe. This one, there's a lot of stuff. That was blue and whatever. Page you read on the language, right? Or what was it in there from you? Yeah, the complaint one was the one we had, we agreed to that as well. The complaint procedure part. Yay. Article 21.
Follow the law. Same as we said before. Not much of a change there.
Just wanted to say that, and then the lockup. Okay. 22 is grievances. Each grievance shall have to be initiated within 30 days. 30 days? 15 days? No, 30 days.
Sorry, I noticed a typo. In the blue text, right under Article 22 grievances, it says no other changes to subsection Article 17. It should say 22. I copy pasted, my bad. So strike that and write Article 17. Or
22.
17, right? 22.
I got 13.
So you want it, okay. So the general procedures, it would go from 15 to 30 days. Okay. Safety, holy smokes. I don't know if I'm the best one to go through. The blue, of course, was your language and what we've accepted, and then yellow were additions from us, new proposals, and brown was additional. Yeah, counter proposal to your language. This is where you get to see all the colors. So I don't know, it might be better if you to read through that and then compare it to what you had offered, and then we'll come back and talk about it, because I think trying to read through it now, and that we can come back with your questions. Does that sound reasonable otherwise? Because we've read through it a lot of times. Okay. And then Article 24, the waiver.
So I'm hoping, so last time we didn't remove this because it was on appeal at the appellate court. That since has been resolved and it stood. So I'm hoping this is the one where we take it out. So now that we don't have that hanging and waiting and it could possibly change, it's illegal language in our opinion.
What part are you referring to?
Waiver.
24.1, the first part of Article 24.
And we didn't remove it last time because it was still technically an appeal at the appellate level. The decision was that struck this, out of Mahoma Falls, or I can never say it quite right, but yeah, there you go. So definitely not a local, I guess, but that has been resolved since then, so this should be just housekeeping, really.
Well, it doesn't say much anyway, so.
Yeah, that's right. We're not trying to put anything in its place. It just would go away because it's no longer legal.
And still on the duration, I think we're still like you all looking towards 3 years. As far as additional financials, if we hear on, your proposal for COLA on the insurance piece, then we can bring up the proposal back. I think that's what I got.
So I do recognize significant movement on the language, so thank you. Just to clarify, there's a couple of pieces still remaining, insurance COLA. The callback, which we're waiting on us specifically for the language, but the closure, that will be in your report. And then
The piece on the layoffs and.
Article 7.
okay, do you need me to say anything about that, Mary?
We did a little bit because I was looking through, I'm trying to look at some of the employees that this had happened to and how the language went back and forth. And the hard part I'm having is employees that were, let's say, 260s and now are being cut down to 230 or 210 or whatever, they're being cut down. And I have a problem with that when it was also always like 10% of the job could be. I mean, how does that reconcile? And then these employees, some are losing like a third of their salary, and that's a big cut, even though you're given the same number of hours.
So those individuals who had calendar reductions are actually considered partial layoff. So we have them on the recall list because it's more than the 10%. But we don't have any positions within that, so we couldn't. But they remain on our recall list for that.
So all the ones that were 260 down that were put into other buildings.
Yeah.
But
the other part was the single. So we have the single bumping, and then we have someone who has multiple positions.
Correct.
So again, you proposed the first language to eliminate something in the multiple positions. And I understand because last year we had a situation where someone was in a higher level position and had a tiny bit of time, an hour, half an hour in another position, it was a lower range. And because of the way the language worked in the end, when we went through the steps, we were able to actually place the person with the lower range. And that didn't feel very good, and I understand all of that. This year, we happen to have situations where it's almost the reverse, where their primary is in the lower range, and then they have few hours in a position that's a higher pay range. So it sort of works the other way if we get rid of the language versus having the option to potentially, again, following the steps where they could be in either of the positions. So that's why I wanted you to have that information to see if you still wanted to move forward with some of the strikeouts, because I'm not sure it always benefits the employee by striking it out. There are different situations.
Okay. We can look at changing. That understand a bit, and then we can look at it further. Okay, yeah.
All right, so we'll caucus. We may have time to at least come back with pieces, maybe not the whole thing. And so maybe let's check in an hour.
Okay, that sounds good.
So let's just say 3:15, but if we can be done sooner, then I will.
Just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll separate TAs right now.
What? It's a whole package.
Well, it's not-
So again, just want to acknowledge, we saw a lot of movement.
My calendar.
Yeah.
By design.
Okay, there we go. So as Jennifer just stated, we noticed significant movement and we appreciate that in our work to get to an agreement. So I'm gonna take we've traditionally gone back and forth and you present, so this is my turn. And then Jennifer can chime in where necessary. And because I don't have a hard copy, it's a little bit more difficult. And we didn't put anything in here where there was language that.
So Article 1 is where we were just keeping current contract language. You all dropped a bunch of things.
So I'll just walk through both. So I'll tell you when I'm talking from your contract proposal and when I'm talking from this sheet here. Okay, so under 1.7, we wanted to maintain current contract language. We follow the law. With license, there are requirements related to TSBC and licensure, and at the ethical educator, which is different than what classified staff have. So for now, our proposal is to stick with current contract language on 1.7. We didn't have anything on 2 to talk about, so we can jump all the way to 4. And the areas where we had to respond to your proposal, one was around 4.3, which includes translation services. And we are sticking with our proposal there. We have limited access to our translators and we need to prioritize support for students. And as an example, IEP translation and some of those pieces. So in this proposal, we didn't make any changes there. And then the next thing is down to 4.7. You added a subsection around new employees shall attend the union meetings as outlined above before they can start their job. Our concern there is just the ability to how long that may take for that to happen, and so we maintain current language there.
So before you move on, Ryan, just a question on that. So are we, I'm assuming we all agree that the law says within 30 days that we have to have a meeting.
We're not, we understand that we want to do those as quickly as possible, and at the same time having it as a barrier that limits a person's ability to get into the position, to start getting compensated for the position. I mean, we just want to make sure that we're not creating additional barriers for people getting into the job. We have the similar spirit, but the language is a concern.
And we do follow the law because we have the association rep available at all of our new employee orientations, but those that are hired late in the year, we sometimes will allow them to start before they attend the orientation. We give them some basic level information so they can get to the building, and then based on scheduling, then we have that. And Mary and Marcy have both attended those at different points throughout the year. So they do have access to them and are able to meet with them at those meetings.
So we're saying those are happening within 30 days of hire?
Should be, because that's our expectation. Those individuals are attending that within the month that they're hiring.
Okay, thank you for answering this.
Under 4.8, is it okay to move on now? Okay. 4.8, we are open to adding the language that you proposed with one caveat, and that is notifying your supervisor a week out of your attendance. So that way we can account for that. But in terms of, and we also appreciate the movement you made in terms of putting the student contact type first. Article 6. Wait, sorry, I jumped too fast. Welcome back rally and training day. We're concerned about the amount of time we have already for the trainings that we need to do, and so we didn't add that language in our proposal. Reclassification, that article is put to bed. Article 6, we are okay with the language around breaks. Emergency callback.
Brian, you guys have yellow there on 6.3.
So yours, in the contract currently, it's rest periods. I think we proposed just changing it to breaks because that's the term we typically use. Other than that, I think rest of the language, we're in agreement. It's just updating it so it's current.
And I thought we had, oh, I guess we didn't have blue there. My bad. Yeah. So I guess that's proposed language. That, good, Marcy?
Yeah,
Okay.
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. Ask the questions as we go. I'm totally fine with that. So emergency callback, we have got a chance to talk to Kim about that. And we put the language all within that first 6.5 emergency callback. When a supervisor calls an employee back to work outside of the regular assigned work hours, they will be guaranteed a minimum of 3 hours pay and paid at the overtime rate for that time, even if the employee has not worked 40 hours during the work week. The employee is contacted by their supervisor for emergency maintenance related question or work that can be completed remotely. They will be guaranteed 30 minutes of work at the overtime rate, even if they haven't reached their 40 hours yet. So again, typically a phone call. If this contact to report to work happens on a paid holiday, they will be guaranteed double pay. So that's an update of our language related to the feedback we had from Kim and your proposed language. We're good on the rest other than on 6.8, we have stuck with this. Notification will happen within a timely manner of the change. And the reason why we've done that is we feel like, again, our intention is to communicate as quickly as possible. And we also know that there are situations that occur that limit our ability to do that. Is it the IEP finalized once we have gone through DocuSign? Is it finalized at the end of the IEP meeting? Some of those things may create ambiguity, and so we're trying to not put down a number that may not be realistic. But again, understanding here where we started with this several contracts ago was clarification about I have access to this information if I'm working with a kid, because that had been something that we had talked about a couple of contracts ago. And so I think we're moving in the right direction. It just felt too restrictive.
I have a clarification question on that one. When, after an IEP is completed and signed at whatever stage that is, when is it supposed to be legally enforced?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, so it's legally enforced upon the completion of the meeting in regards to the ideas and concepts. So it may be starting to start at that moment, but it may not necessarily have all of the concrete pieces. There's other elements like a behavior support plan, which could be a multitude of time for us to get together and make sure that we get all of the input, that everything is collaborated to, or compiled together so that we deliver it. So it's kind of a little bit nebulous, but as we're working through the day or working with the student, staff should be informed along that way too. Does that make sense?
It feels, and feelings don't always go to being what is, but it feels the minute an employee could be held responsible or liable for enforcing something, they should know it.
Correct, yep. I would agree with that.
And you're saying that technically, legally, the day the meeting ends, it's.
It can go into, it goes into effect, but some things aren't actually fully flushed out. And so we would want to make sure that that is flushed out and provided to the folks right away. Right, so once again, in that timely manner of the completion, compiling of that document.
So that's where we are with our proposal. Article 7, we haven't done anything. That was the one that Mary and Jennifer were talking about, layoff and recall and current scenarios. 8. What's that?
Our language still holds.
What is that? Okay. And we're down to, we didn't make any changes to 8.3.
I'm sorry, Ryan, clarification. So there's no response to our language proposals at the end of Article 8 regarding job descriptions. Is that addressed later on in your
You were
proposal?
just speaking to that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. No problem. So we have not made any changes to 8.3.
And what I would say is job descriptions are available. They just have to ask right now. We have like offered, we can set it up and we'll be looking at that this summer to have them on Google Drive for all staff to have access to. We're trying to get them in a format so at least the current ones are available. We're not required to put them on the website. Some districts do, some don't. You're asking for multiple things within the request. But we understand that staff would like to, rather than just contact us, which we send them out once we receive the request, to have it a little bit easier accessible. So.
And then new hire onboarding, again, this goes back to that piece about how much are we able to do before a person comes on the job and what's realistic there. And so we haven't changed any of our language. Under 9.3, we went with your proposed language. So again, upon receiving a promotion in the different job, family, and employee will be placed on the appropriate range of the position and on their current step. So we agreed with that. On compensation.
Sorry, I'm just doing it.
Didn't make it work.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So then on Article 10, around compensation, we've moved from up to 5.5 on the COLA for the first year. And then based on the request about year 3, we've added a 3% for year 3. So 5.5, 4, and 3 for the 3 years.
Clarification, for 10.1.1, the text portion of that says 5% increase.
I just got that error. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it is 5.5 for year 1. Thank you.
Yes. That moves us on to 10.5.
Going back just to say, to clarify, the proposal we had around the languages is no interest.
When individuals are asked to translate outside of their time, we already pay them at the translation rate. So it's not in language specifically based on how you all wrote it that we're interested in putting in. Our practice is to pay individuals who are asked to translate.
You're saying, just to clarify what I'm hearing you say, is that an individual in a building who maybe speaks Russian, who is asked to help by a principal to help tell a student something.
Not to tell a student, no.
Well, but they're helping translate for something.
So when we have a request formal request and we're asked to provide a translation service, that's when we pay at a translator rate.
So if the principal knew I spoke Russian using her example and they want me to translate for a kid, I could say, no, thank you.
I suppose if that's really how you would like to approach
No,
it, yeah.
Just playing devil's advocate, right? I mean, just making sure I understand, because I wouldn't be paid for that, right? I don't be paid if I'm doing actual translation based on the example you gave.
No, but if you're working for us at that time, you're being paid your rate for probably working with the child. It's not like we're getting free labor service. I suppose you can certainly say I'm not willing to help, yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
And then, so we are on to 10.5. And we are open to that, your language there as well. When an employee is placed in the lower salary range, not due to a disciplinary action, it will be paid on the new range for the job title offered and at the step closest to their current rate of pay, rounding up. Regular step advancement follows Article 10.2. So that's your language directly. Bus riders.
Yeah, we weren't looking at adding any additional language for longevity.
So that, the
So no.
10.7 was a no interest?
For additional language, correct.
10.10.
So
10.10.2.
10.10, we talked about actually doing it as an MOA because the salary schedule is in a different contract. And looking at where it's currently paid and verifying it against the other things in that is actually section D. So we'd like to continue what we're currently paying.
We are maintaining the language around severance. And then we're on to bus riders. And in that, we do want to maintain that language around the first 3 weeks. Currently, the first 3 weeks that we have somebody on every single bus, rather than throughout the rest of the year where it's student specific. So that's where we are with that. And again, our intention with adding this language, because we brought the first proposal for the adding language around this, was to recognize that we're asking a lot of people to be able to do that. And so we're looking at folks who can do that long term and providing extra compensation for it. On 11, related to insurance, we heard where you were hoping that we would put the compensation. And so in our counter, we've added the $50 a month increase in each of the 3 upcoming years. So 24, 25, 25, 26, and 26, 27. And those numbers reflect those increased amounts.
Thank you.
Holidays, we've left it as it currently is with a half day, choosing a day between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. Vacation, we didn't have anything on that article at this point. So on leaves, we know that there was language that you were talking about and working on related to the district closure information. So we're waiting for a counter from you related to that piece. 14.7, we stuck with bully, which is the 10 days. we're open to that change in language from terminal to separation.
But before we actually have it in the proposal, we're doing a clarification with PERS to make sure just the change in wording doesn't somehow make a negative impact on employees. So we will come back once we get that answer.
Our initial thought is it's not the case, but we just want to double check on that. That would be the last thing we would want to do.
So right above that, the part around the 5 consecutive work days. In yellow, just, is that
Our proposal is trying to match with our policy.
There's nothing new here. So we're down to, I think we're down to 15, aren't we?
So you had proposed a section under 14.7.5, that additional cost. We do that now. My concern is based on adding new language is going to make it more confusing than just when individuals do have to go to the doctor to just go ahead and ask for a notice. And oftentimes it'll be something as simple as so-and-so is under my care effective whatever date. But again, when they're out the 5 or more days, we need to ensure if there's any restrictions that we're able to have conversation and work through that, which is why we ask for it. We don't need details about the individual, just knowing what we're working with and someone's been out for that period of time.
Can I ask a potential clarifying question? So, and I'm not wanting to necessarily draw a connection between, but I'm asking if there's a connection between. With students, we're always being told to be very careful not to tell someone to go to the doctor. They should go to the doctor because the district could end up being liable to have to pay for it. If we, as a district, tell an employee to go to the doctor, conceptually, wouldn't that be the same thing, potentially?
I'm not telling someone to go to the doctor. Typically, if you're out that long, you typically have some sort of medical. What we don't want is people who, unfortunately, we do see the habits of they're taking extended days for other reasons. And or I've had people go out on surgery and not tell us, and then they come back with restrictions, and we need information to know how to work with them. So I'm not gonna say you have to see a doctor. I've had people who've been out and chose not to, but then they need to communicate. I'm sorry, I haven't. If you really need it, then yes, we would need to go ahead and pay for that at that time. But it's really someone who has simply can ask their doctor at that time. And usually they can put it within their electronic charts, for example, and that's been printed off.
We're also required by law to provide FMLA information, and we can't do that if we don't know.
Absolutely. There's always people who don't use things correctly or can make us, worry that something we're doing that's good. But for all of those, there's more that are trying to do it the right way.
And we just, a big part of it is communication, right? They can have that conversation to say, hey, I didn't see a doctor during this period of time, or hey, this is what's happening. And I don't want to know a ton of details. We need to make sure that we're staying in compliance with things.
Okay.
And then the sick leave cash out's the next one, and we're waiting
For us.
for that. That takes us to sick leave bank article 15. And on that one, we are open to your number of 200. So that's a change there. And that moves us all the way to Article 17. And we are still wanting to stick with the quarterly basis as a minimum for that.
I guess I would just add, it doesn't mean if we need to meet more often, we certainly, can. But I think I can imagine during breaks and during start of the school year and or summer, that sometimes not doing it, putting a hard 2 months date, then potentially it could be grieved. The quarterly gives us a little bit more flexibility with making sure we get something scheduled.
Under 18.5, we haven't added the language that you proposed, but we've taken note specifically about James's situation to make sure that we are being more timely in that. So we have that down. That is in terms of language, but as a FYI, that's something we need to improve on. We're good. 20, we're good. 21, we want to maintain current contract language there. Around the grievance procedure under Article 22, we made the change from 15 to 20 days that aligns with certified, and we think that will make it easier for the people who are involved in those processes to have that common number of days. So we didn't go all the way to 30, but we changed it to 20.
And I assume it was an oversight on the bottom there where it has 15 again, you mean 20 there too,
It
right?
should both be
Oh, yeah,
total.
thank you.
That's right. You've seen me do it, so it happens.
We were really committed to getting a whole contract proposal. We did not get done with the article around safety. So we need a little bit more time with that one. We're obviously closer than we were, but we need a little bit of time, and we wanted to get back to you. So that is where we are around safety, Article 23. And then the additional financials, the leave balance piece.
Do you mean that to say at least 1 day or equivalent to 1 day? Okay.
All the way at the end.
So at minimum, they need to have 1 day, so equivalent to 1 day.
Okay, so it just says have the leave balance equivalent to 1 day, so that's an even.
It's hard when you don't have that. So I understand the question.
Well, my feet is not mixed up.
So that is our proposal minus the Article 23 and 24, and then the two pieces you would bring it back.
So you probably wanted to check it, make sure where we're at on that 24, right? With your attorney. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. All right. Well, we got something to look at, yeah. I think we all have a little bit to do for next time, right?
Yeah, we're getting closer.
All right. Well, obviously we'll have ours next time. It's about 15 minutes or 14 minutes, but thank you for the movement. We appreciate that. And we're gonna go ahead and go off record and be good to go.